Hello, my name is Michelle Baker, and we are very honored and privileged to be in the home of Mrs. Elizabeth Mauldin, who has graciously consented to share some of her 82 years with us. Mrs. Mauldin, can you tell us when you were born and what is your birthplace?
I was born in Gordonsville, Virginia, which is a very small little town in Virginia. And I came to Pennsylvania when at the age of 16. And I just lived with took care of my mother when she was ill till she died. She was the age of 59 when she died. And I stayed home, took care of her, and I raised my 3 children. I had 3 children. And then after she died and the kids got of some age, I just did housework. And what else did I do? And I don't know. I worked and raised the kids, and they all finished high school and all went on to school. And I was married and moved out, and then I remarried at the age of 40. I remarried, and I'm still married to Russell Mauldin. And I guess that's been my life.
All right, what do you think made it possible for you to live such a long life?
I don't know, it's just God that let me live, I guess. Just God's work, just let me stay on this earth. My grandmother, which was my father's mother, she lived to be 97. And maybe he's gonna let me live that long, I don't know.
I know you have a lot of memories, some of them good and some bad. Can you tell us anything about your ancestors who may have been slaves?
Oh my. I don't know much about my father's people. He was the only child. And his father, I never knew my grandfather on either side. But my grandmother, I don't think she was a slave. She came from India. And on my mother's side, my grandmother and my grandfather both were slaves. And I can't remember. They used to talk about it, but I can't remember that. It's just, I know my grandmother they didn't put her in the field to work or anything like that because she was real fair. And she did the housework, that's the way they used to do it, keep them in the house to do the housework and all. And I can't remember too much about that.
They didn't talk about it much?
Yeah, my mother used to talk about it, but all the time about how they were slaves and how my grandfather and my grandfather, both my grandparents was interracial. Both of them was on my father's side. My grandmother, I don't know about my grandfather on my father's side, but my grandmother, she was Indian. She was real tall and thin, had long, straight black hair. And
this was in Virginia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you know anyone other than family of African ancestry who had also been a slave?
Some of the kids I used to go to school with, their grandparents were slaves, but I can't tell you. We used to talk about it when we was kids, how they was treated and how they made them work in the fields and things like that. We used to talk about it when we was kids. But I really can't remember too much of it.
Can you tell us anything about your great-grandparents?
No, I can't tell you too much about it because now my father's mother says she lived with us for a while. She was 97. But my mother's people, they died even before I was born.
How about your parents?
Well, my mother died at the age of 59. I think she died in 1930. And my father died, he lived 9 years after my mother died. He lived 9 years and he died. And we just been shifting around ever since my brother. I had three sisters that died as children. One was 18 and one was 12 and one was 8. They died when they was children. Then I had 3 brothers and they all gone now. There was 10 of us and it's only 3 of us left. 7 of them is gone.
Do you remember your uncles and aunts?
Oh yeah, I remember my aunts, uncles. And I don't know. One aunt lived with us when she was younger. After my mother was married, she lived with us for a while until she was married. And she was working for a family of people. She went to Ohio with them, and they moved to Ohio, and then she got married. So she never came back this way to live. She used to come back to visit, but she never came back this way to live. Then I had another of my mother's sister, another one of my mother's sisters. She got married, moved to Pittsburgh, and she died in Pittsburgh. And she had 2 brothers. I think one of the brothers lived in Pittsburgh. It had been so long there when I was just a child myself when they died. And 2 brothers. I think one died when he was in Alexander, Virginia. He lived. And the other one lived in Pittsburgh. Oh yeah, Uncle Richard, he lived in Philadelphia. He died in Philadelphia since we've been up here, lived up here. Because we moved up here in 1923, I think. My father moved to Philadelphia, to Newtown Square.
Did you have any cousins?
Yeah, I have a whole lot of cousins. My mother was a twin, and her kids all lived in Washington. I think it's only, let me see, only 2 of them left, I believe now. Loretha, Virginia, and Lucille is left, and they live in Washington, D.C. And as I said, I didn't have no relatives on my father's side because he was only a child.
Do you have any children?
I have 3 children. I had 3 children and I raised, 5 foster children. And 2 of them live in Chester. 1 live in Toby Farms. 1 live in Coatesville. And 1 is still with me. It was Garrett. He's still with me. He's in a wheelchair, but he's still with me. And then I had my 3 children. 1 is in Connecticut and 1's in Chester, and the other one died. She died 13 years ago.
Do you have any grandchildren?
Yes, I have. I think I have. Let me see now. How many do I have? 6. 6. I guess I only have 6 grandchildren, and I think I have 14 great-grandchildren. And then I have 14 grandchildren and 2 or 3 great-grandchildren. 3, I think, great-grandchildren. So many of them, I can't keep up with them.
Are many of your friends and acquaintances still alive?
Yes, I belong to Second Baptist Church, and I have a lot of friends over there. And it's 3 of us always traveling together. Our pastor calls us his senior citizens, and we always in church together. And we just have a good time talking to each other on the phone and going to church, meeting each other at church, prayer meeting. It's
How have your black friends and acquaintances treated you?
what?
How have your black friends and acquaintances treated you over the years?
Oh, good. I've never had no problem with the black or the white either. I've always been treated nice.
Do you have any friends or acquaintances of other races besides black and white?
I have one very good friend, a Japanese girl, and she's nice as she can be. Her little son stopped to see me. I hadn't seen him since Oh, he was about 8 years old, I guess, last time I saw him. He stopped in here the other night to see me. I was so glad to see the little boy. Yeah, I always liked that girl. She's a Japanese girl.
I've been told that in the old days, most of our people would always stop and speak when they saw you, wherever they were. Is this true?
Say what?
That black people always stop and speak to you, like wherever they are, wherever they see you?
Yeah, they do.
They still do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Some of the kids that grew up around me stop and speak to me, and I have to look at them. I say, I'm sorry, but I don't know you. And they say, oh, Miss Mauldin, you do know so-and-so. I said, oh, my Lord, child, I didn't know you. Yeah, they all.
Some of us don't like to talk about the mixing of the races that was often forced on our enslaved ancestors. This is obvious by hues of color that make up our race. Most of us are of mixed heritage. However, very little is said about this. Does your family tree tell this story as well?
Do what?
Does your family tree also have like a mixing of races?
Yeah, I have a grandson married to her. He had 2 wives, and both of them was white. They had the prettiest little kids.
How about your ancestors? You mentioned
Yeah,
something about your
my
grandparents.
mother had a sister that had married a white man, who's been in our family all down through the years. So it's not, don't make no difference to me if they're half of there. Don't worry with me.
So how did the family feel at the time?
I don't think they. I've heard my mother talk about my aunt was. Her sister married this white man, and I don't think it mattered to them.
It has been said many times that the effects of race mixing between whites and slaves caused some social problems that were harmful to black families and black society. Were the so-called light-skinned persons treated better by the whites than those darker-skinned persons who look like Africans?
I don't know any difference in the treatment. I know the dark girls used to laugh at us in school and call us all kinds of names and half-whiters and all that. I've been called that all my life. And I just not live with it, and that was it. I paid no mind to it. But I haven't had that problem since I grew up.
Do you remember if like light-skinned persons treated each other better than dark-skinned persons?
No.
How about
Not with my friends and where I travel along, there was no difference.
how about like vice versa? Did dark-skinned people treat each other better than they treated, like you said, you were called names? Did you encounter that a lot?
As growing up, I was called that a lot. Yes, I was.
Was this like when you were a child, or did it continue when you were an adult? Maybe an adult?
No, I haven't had that problem since I grew up. Just in school, when I was in school, they called your names and all, but I guess that was just the kids' way of getting back at you. I don't know.
Was there much fuss made about like good hair and bad hair?
Yes, yes, yes. All the time. And the dark kids with no hair would get mad if they wouldn't let you comb your good hair. And there was always a fight about that, because I don't like nobody to touch my hair. Even today, I don't like nobody to touch my hair. And there was always a fight with that, because I don't know why. I don't know why kids like to comb their hair, but they do.
Did this attitude cause a lot of problems within families that had like children of mixed complexions, like one dark child and one light-skinned child? Do you know if that caused problems?
Not where I traveled along. I never noticed it.
Do you remember if you had ever used outdoor toilets?
Yes, I know that.
Do you know of anyone ever falling through an outdoor toilet?
No, I never knew nobody fall through it.
Well, they used to say that they were turned over during mischief night. Do you remember if they were turned over?
No, I don't remember nobody ever turned one over.
In the past, preferred housing was openly restricted to whites only. Our people were usually restricted to buying homes that were no longer considered appropriate for whites or segregated from whites. Please describe the homes in which you have lived in and their locations. Do you remember the first house you lived in?
We always, when I was growing up, always lived so far in the country. Wasn't nobody out there but us. And we went to Sunday school and church, but we always lived way out in the country. My father was a farmer, and we mostly to ourselves.
Do you know what year that was?
It was, I would say, from 1910 to about 1922, I guess, or 23.
Was that a new house?
No, it wasn't no new house. It was just a little old farmhouse sitting there in the middle of the field.
Do you know who built it?
No, I don't know who built the house. I know it wasn't much of a house, just sitting there in the field. No basement, had a big old fireplace in the living room, that was the heat. The stove in the kitchen, that's all the heat you had.
Did you own the home or did your family rent it?
We was renting, lived on the farm. The white man owned it till we came to meet here.
Were there any other farms around the area?
All of them, that's all. There was farms, the farm was joined, but the houses were so far apart.
Well, these houses, do you remember the neighbors? Was it like an integrated area?
No, it was mostly white people around us. No, it was mostly white people around us, and then after I know one place, the last place we lived before we come up here, we lived off in the country, but it was a little place where a lot of black people lived in a little community. It was 5 or 6 little houses in that little community. And I think they called that Porterstown. But it wasn't no stores or nothing, it was just these black families living. And we was allowed to go over there and play like Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon after Sunday school or something like that. But till the next Saturday, we didn't see nobody but us till, and that was that.
So were your neighbors friendly?
Yeah, very friendly.
You could trust them?
Mm-hmm.
Like during emergencies and times of need, you could call on them?
Yeah, if you could get to the house. A little bit before, but I guess it was, yeah, they would come, because I remember when my mother used to have a baby, they'd always come and bring meals for the kids to already cooked and things like that. They were very friendly.
The first house you lived in, which was on a farm, did that have running water?
No, you would never know. You had to go down the hill to the spring and carry the water to the house.
Did it have electricity?
No.
How about gas?
No. Wood stoves.
Sewer lines? Did it have sewer lines?
No. They had nothing.
Did you have radio back then?
No. No, we used to entertain ourselves playing games and playing church. That's all we knew. Just play church and play all kinds of games. Make up our own games and play.
How did you play church? You just pretend you were in church?
Yeah, pretend we was at church, and when my mother went away, we'd get all dressed up in our good clothes and play church, but we took them off when she got back home. And my brother, he was always the preacher, and the choir was singing, and we just played church. Okay. That was our main game, the church.
Do you like media now as a place to live?
I love it. I love it. I didn't think I'd like it when I first bought my house and was moving over here. I didn't think I'd like it because I had always went to the main line, over on the main line, but I love it over here.
Have you ever needed any services from the township?
Hmm?
Have you ever needed any services from the township? So is media are these neighborhoods around here organized?
Yeah, I guess they are. I know it was very good to me when I had the fire. It was right there for me and all. I don't have no complaints with media. I love media.
What's the political situation around here?
Well, they really did vote, and I used to vote now, but I'm too lazy to go register now.
Do they seem to care about people of color?
Yeah, some of them was kind of prejudiced, but I don't come in contact with them kind of, I don't know. They tell me they are.
How are the senior citizens treated?
Huh?
How are the senior citizens treated?
I think they treat it very nice. They take them on trips. The borough sends a senior citizen on different trips. At Christmas time, we go up in Lancaster to see some play up there. We go, I forget what the name of it is now. We always go up there.
What was the highest level of formal education that you received?
10th grade.
Would you have liked to have gotten more education?
Yes, I would, but it didn't work that way.
Did you attend kindergarten?
I don't think there was no kindergarten back then in them days.
So where did you attend elementary school?
In Gordonsville, Virginia.
Was that integrated?
No, it was black.
So all your teachers were black?
Yeah.
What was the school building like?
I think it was only 2 rooms. And it went from the first to the 10th grade in them 2 rooms. I think that's all I think it was only 2 rooms. All I can remember is in 2 rooms. A 2-room school.
What type of textbooks did you have? What was their condition?
You had to buy your own textbook, own books, all. You had to buy your own books.
So you bought them new?
Mm-hmm.
What did you study? What were the subjects?
We had history, and we called it geography then, and arithmetic, they called it arithmetic, now they call it math, and reading and spelling, and writing. I used to call it, what did they call it, writing?
Penmanship.
No, it wasn't penmanship.
Camps.
I can't even remember now what it was. But we had a little blue back book, it was a little thin book with writing in it, and we had to copy this writing, whatever it was, and make the letters like they had made them.
What kind of instructional materials did the teachers use?
And I don't think they had any instructions. I guess they had some kind of book that went by. I don't know.
So your school, it didn't have a cafeteria?
No. No.
What'd you have to do, go home for lunch?
Well, you took your lunch with you. Took the little biscuits or whatever you had in a paper bag with you. That's what you did.
So what kind of toilet facilities did it have?
The little outside toilet.
Did the building have heating?
Yeah, they used to have a little stove sitting up in the room, school room.
Do you remember what recreation was like? What'd you do for recreation?
What, at school or what?
Yeah, at school.
Play ball or hide and seek or jumping rope or hopscotch, that kind of a thing.
How hard was the schoolwork?
It was hard to me. Very hard to me.
Did the teachers act like they wanted you to learn?
Yeah, they'd punish you if you didn't get your homework done or whatever you were supposed to do. Yeah, you had to stay in at recess.
What were your favorite subjects?
I guess math was my favorite.
So did you like school as a whole?
Hmm?
Did you like school as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that your education helped you throughout your life?
That's true it did, yes.
Are there any other childhood experiences you'd like to share?
No, I guess in the morning we was just poor, that's all. It was a whole house full of us. As I say, it was 10 of us and my mother and father. We was very poor, but we was very happy. We was very happy. And my father, he was a good father. He was always there with us. And my mother too. My mother never worked. She was always home. I guess that's the reason we're so poor, because she never worked. She was always home with us.
That's 10 kids, that's work.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Employment has always been a great area of concern for most black people. We were always cited as the last to be hired and the first to be fired. All honest work is considered to be respectable. However, jobs where a lot of money could be made or a person would have control of the workplace were usually denied to people of color. Please describe the jobs you have had and how you kept them.
I never did nothing but housework. That's all I ever did.
Do you remember what kind of jobs your husband had?
My husband, before we was married, he worked from the time he come out of school with racehorses till he retired. He worked with racehorses 50 years before he retired. He was with them. That's all he ever did. Till this years he was in the service. And then when he came back to the service, he went back to work for the same man.
So where did you do housework at?
I worked in Bryn Mawr, and I worked in Drexel Hill, and I worked in Westchester, and Newtown Square, that's all. And when I finished in Drexel Hill, I just come home, and then I got married, and I was home with my grandchildren. And then I had grandchildren by then, and I took care of them. And then after I moved to Media, and then they moved out from me. And then I said, well, now what am I going to do? Because my husband was away so much. And I couldn't imagine what I was going to do with myself all day and all night sitting home by myself. So then that's when I took foster kids. And I started taking them, and I just took them about 10 or 15 years. I don't know just how long it was.
So the people you worked for, they were like white people?
They always treated me nice. They were not too bad.
Do you remember the kind of work your parents did?
Well, my father, he was a farmer more than anything else. And my mother, as I said, she never worked.
What kind of work did the children do?
Well, my daughter, the one that died, she was a secretary at Bertol's from the time she come out of high school till she died. And my other daughter, she's a practical nurse. And my son, he's a mechanic.
What kind of work do other relatives of yours do?
Oh, I don't know, they're school teachers and all kinds of things.
Did you notice that employment always increased during wartime?
Yeah,
Can you tell us anything about the WPA, the Works Project Administration? Do you remember that?
I don't know too much about the WPA. All I know when we lived on Newtown Square, a bunch of men used to come out on the on the train because we lived right alongside the red track, the train track. And this bunch of men would come out there on this train and walk them down the track and do nothing all day, and then the train take them back into Philadelphia. And the court said it was WPA men. I don't know what they did. And I've never been on welfare, and I don't know nothing about that.
What are your personal views on employment? Your personal views on employment?
I never had no problem with unemployment. With my family usually was always lucky enough to find some kind of work or something. It might not have been just what they wanted, but they always found something.
Did you know anyone who went into business for themselves?
Well, my foster son in Westchester, in Coatesville, I think he's kind of in business for himself. He's trying to open up his own garage. And I don't know too many that's in business for themselves.
During the earlier years, most of our people fell upon hard times. For some of us, times have changed. However, we are often reminded today by the large numbers of homeless and unemployed people that hard times are still here. What hard times, if any, did you have during your life?
I had plenty of hard times. I raised my kids by myself. That was one thing, hard times. But we made it. I don't know. I don't know. Just I was the whole support of my kids because their father had died early, and I just raised my kids by myself, and I was working and trying to make a living for them, and it was very hard at times, but I never been on welfare.
How were times for you during the 1920s?
Well, I was with my father at the time, and my father worked through the whole Depression. That's when we moved from Virginia up here, and he was worked on the coal yard. And my mother was sick, and I took care of her and my kids. I don't know how we made it, but we did.
What do you remember about Prohibition?
Prohibition, I can't remember too much about that.
When did the Depression end for you? Do you remember when the Depression ended for you? What times were like during the Depression?
Yeah, I know. No, because I had hard on my life. I don't know when it ended. I don't know. I never had it too easy.
But do you think things are better now, socially and economically, than when you were a child?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Our people have had the right to vote for a long time. However, in many cases, we were prevented from voting because of racism. When did you first register to vote?
I didn't register to vote till I moved to Media, and that was, when did I move to Media? I guess in the 50s it was. Well, I didn't vote till I moved to Media, and then they got so hot on me I had to register to vote.
What political party did you register as a member?
Democrat, I think.
Why'd you join the Democratic Party?
I guess because somebody told us. The man that was on me so hot, he was Democrat, so I guess that's the reason I did it.
Did you vote for the straight ticket for that party?
Mm-hmm.
Were the polls watched by both parties?
I guess there was black and white up there. I guess there was watching. I don't know what they were doing.
Do politicians ever offer bribes in the form of money or drinks for votes?
Not to me. No, I don't know what they did to others. Not to me.
So do you have faith in the political system?
Somewhat.
According to some people, in the old days it was often said in the black community that the only free people in the United States was a white man and a black woman. Why was that so?
I really don't know why they would say that. I don't know. That's one moment. I don't know.
Your birthday indicates that you were born when Woodrow Wilson was president. What was the first president that you remember?
I don't even know. I remember him voting and saying he was going to vote, my father-in-law, and he wasn't allowed to vote, and then he got so they wouldn't let him vote. He didn't register. I don't know the president. I don't know.
When you registered to vote in the 50s, like, did you vote for the presidential election, in that election? Do you remember the first president you voted for?
I think the first president I voted for was, I think I voted for Roosevelt, I think.
What was your opinion of him? What was your opinion of him?
I thought he was good. I thought he was excellent.
How about Harry S. Truman? What did you think of him?
That was a long. I don't think I liked him very much.
How about Dwight Eisenhower?
No, I didn't care for Eisenhower either.
Kennedy?
Yeah.
You liked him?
Yeah.
Why'd you like him?
Why did I like Kennedy? Oh, he was for the poor people. Yes, he was. I liked him.
So what about Lyndon Johnson?
I didn't. He was alright, but I didn't care too much for him either.
How about Richard Nixon? Did you like Nixon?
He was just crooked. That's all. To me, he was. I don't know. He was just crooked, that's all.
Did you like Ford? Gerald Ford?
Yeah.
Did you vote for him?
I guess I did. I voted that year. I don't know who I voted for, but I did.
How about Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, I liked him. I did. At first I thought, oh Lord, now look what to put in there. But I learned to like him.
How about Ronald Reagan? You liked him? Like Reagan?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't.
So what do you think about George Bush?
Can't remember too much about him. Bush. I don't know. What can you say?
What do you think about the current president, President Clinton?
Yeah, I like him. I think he's trying to do right. With all the fighting and going against him.
As you know, the military did not integrate until 1950 under the presidency of Harry S. Truman. Therefore, any prior service was in general segregated. Were you ever in the military?
No.
Did you have any family members in the military?
Yeah, I had a brother and uncles and My father never was in there, but I had a brother in there. My son was in the Army. My husband was in the Navy. And yeah, I had a lot of people, cousins and all that was in the service. I have a great nephew that's in Italy now. He was last time I heard from him. I don't know where he is now.
What kind of outfits were your brother and husband in?
Just army colored clothes, all that, you know.
Do you know if they were segregated or integrated at the time they were in the service?
My brother wasn't segregated. I don't think my husband was either. And I know my son was.
Do you know where they were stationed at?
Oh, my husband, he was on the ship that transported stuff over there, and he just was on the ship all the time, going and coming. And my brother, I think he was in Germany. I forget where my brother-in-law, I forgot all about my brother-in-law, my sister's husband that's upstairs. He was in the service. I don't know where he was stationed at. But he was in the service in 45, I guess, 44 or something. I don't know. What year was it? I can't remember.
What was the highest rank they achieved?
I don't know.
Did they talk about how they were treated by white military personnel?
Yeah, I never heard no complaints that they was treated bad.
How about the black military personnel? Did they talk about that? How they were treated by black military personnel?
No complaints. I can't remember any. I don't know.
Did they ever talk about how the citizens of foreign countries treated them?
I guess to treat them all right. If you didn't, I can't remember no complaints. I don't know. They might have been treated differently.
Transportation is obviously very important. Before mass transportation was available, most of society lived at a home that was near the workplace. Also, many black people, regardless of the availability of transportation, were also subjected to segregated transportation. Tell us about your personal experiences with personal transportation.
Well, I wasn't going riding no public transportation when they were segregated, so I don't know. I never had no problem. When I started riding public transportation, I could sit anywhere I wanted to.
Did you ever use horseback riding for transportation?
Yeah, when we lived in the country, going to the store, I used to ride the horse. I was going to the horse and buggy. My brother and I used to ride the horse to the store.
Did you ever ride on a boat or a ferry?
Not till I got to Pennsylvania, I used to ride over to Chester Ferry. That's the only ferry I've been on.
Did you ever ride a train?
Yeah.
When did you first ride a train?
Oh, I guess when I came to Philadelphia the first time, I guess we had to ride in the coach with they call them colored people, I guess.
Did you ever use a bicycle for transportation?
I can't ride a bicycle today. No, I never used a bicycle.
Do you remember the first time you started using an automobile?
Yeah. Back in my brother bought Ford. Didn't have it had the top. We used to put the top back, and then didn't have no windows. They had the curtains, I guess they call them. It was, let's see, must have been back in 1920 or 22, 23, 21, somewhere back in there.
According to Robert Russell Mauldin, in 1927, Negroes were not usually permitted to buy a new automobile. If they happened to buy one, they were often ran out of the automobile or had it confiscated. Is this so? Do you remember any?
I don't remember that. My brothers just bought used cars. I do remember my brother in the 50s, he bought a new Ford. I think he only paid $500 for the car. It was brand new. That's the first new car our family had. My brother got a little Ford, and I remember you thought $500. My, that was a lot of money. But
When did you start using a taxi cab for transportation?
I don't know. I didn't use much taxi cab no time. I guess back then in the 40s, I guess. Somewhere in the 40s, maybe I used a taxi.
Do you remember if the cab drivers were white or black?
I guess it was white. White, I imagine. I ain't used many taxis, never have.
Do you remember the first time you rode a bus?
Tell the truth, I don't think I ever rode a bus. I'm not going any distance. I used to go in Philadelphia in the trolley, but I don't think I ever rode I've been to Chester once on the bus since I lived in Media, and that's been 40-some years. I went to Chester once on the bus. It looked like it took me 2 days to go down there and come back. So I never went back on the bus no more. I don't think I ever rode buses. And I know I've never taken a trip on a bus. I've taken trips, but I've always been on the train.
So what year was that you used the trolley, that you rode trolley cars?
Back in the 40s when we moved up here, because I never rode a trolley in Virginia. There was no trolleys where I come from. And I guess I didn't ride no trolley till I came to Newtown Square, and that was in the 40s, somewhere in the 40s. No, it was back further than that. In the 29, I guess, back in the 20s, I guess it was, when I came forward.
Were the trolley cars segregated like the buses? Did you have to sit in the back or?
No, I never had to sit in the back, I don't think.
Did you ever fly on an airplane?
No, I will not fly an airplane. I won't get on no boat either.